it was a consequence of them seeing a UFO.
Yeah, he had seen a UFO, and that's why he was approached by this agency.
And then recruited.
Welcome to the Driving to the Rest podcast. This is Inelia.
And this is Larry. Just a quick note. If you're hearing this, you're on our free feed, which means you'll only get the first part of this conversation.
To access the rest, go drivingtotherest.com and subscribe to the Wisdom Keeper Hour.
Join us and our expert panelists for detailed insights and the after party where you're invited to join in the conversation. Head over to drivingtotherez.com and become a subscriber.
Your $8 subscription keeps this podcast ad-free and helps us keep the lights on and maybe even get a decent cup of coffee. More importantly, it connects you with a community of passionate wisdom keepers like yourself. So if you're ready to go deeper, join us at drivingtotherest.com and support the journey. What?
It's time to start, honey. Welcome to another episode.
Yes. Today we're going to be talking about something quite interesting that we came across this week.
Yes, this week means last week. Just so you know.
Yeah. This, the article that I wrote about it is called Did a Mainstream Podcast Just Confirm Team Whisper?
Team Whisper is your best-selling novel.
Yes.
Novel with quotations. Yes, I was listening.
Well, it's based on true events. Let's just say that way. But it is a novel.
It is a novelization of true events.
Yes.
That's how I like to see it.
Yeah, based on true events. It's not actually...
A novelization based on true events. Mm-hmm. Maybe in different orders or different circumstances, but that happened around about like this.
Right.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go.
Okay, I'm going to read
our article, which you will find at drivingtotherez.com.
There you go. This week, something unusual happened.
I'll say.
Larry and I were listening to a major podcast when the guest began describing a military man. I think it was Air Force, wasn't it?
Air Force, yeah.
Who remembered being recruited at age 13 into a psychic program no one was supposed to know about. It echoed the very material I've disclosed in Team Whisper and Psychic Assassin.
It echoed.
Yes.
That wasn't totally clear. I couldn't figure out what word you were saying.
Echoed.
It echoed.
Yes.
The very material she disclosed in Team Whisper and Psychic Assassin, two of her novels.
He wasn't in the base I had been in, but his story matched the structure, purpose, and technology, which is the weaponization of psychic abilities, intelligence gathering work, and mind wipe protocols.
Mind wipe.
What interested me even more is why this is surfacing now and how tightly is it being woven into the UFO disclosure agenda.
I was curious how it was being disclosed because it was disclosed on the #1 podcast in the planet, right? Mm-hmm. Hundreds and thousands and millions of listeners. Mm-hmm. Although I will say that it was hidden tightly at the very back half hour. So if you listen to this podcast...
Yeah. It'll be like 5 minutes at the end of the podcast.
5 or 10 minutes, yeah, right at the last half hour of a 3-hour podcast. So It's a little bit hidden, but it's right there also.
So this year has matched the looking ahead markers, and 2026 is lining up fast. Do you know the looking ahead?
So what you're talking about is every year you'll do a looking ahead
at the next year
broadcast, which gives a peek into, well, in the past it's been some of the plans of the light, dark sides. What do they have planned for the agenda? And what does the light have planned for the agenda? Things like that. So we like get a peek into the intentions for the year.
Yes. Larry and I listened to a podcast where a known documentarian was sharing the journey during his most recent documentary about UFOs, or as we like to call them, they like to call them these days, UAPs. Near the end of his interview, he mentioned a particular military man who had started to recall having been recruited into military service at age 13, which in the USA is illegal.
Too young, by far.
I think they're talking about Team Whisper, Larry said.
Yeah, because it was like hey, they're recruiting young. Well, this one was particularly interesting because it was the recipe of Team Whisper, and he was recalling how it had happened to him, and it was exactly what was in Team Whisper.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it answered. Of course, Team Whisper is a novel, so there's no way he was part of it. But what Larry was referring to was the real-life recruitment and weaponization of psychic children around the world.
Right.
I've addressed this issue in
I was actually referring to Team Whisper exactly, not the program in general. It was like, he's probably one of the characters in Team Whisper is what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's not. But of all the characters, he'd probably be Monkey. Or Squirrel. No, not Squirrel, of course, but Monkey. Yeah, probably. Intelligence Gathering.
Yes.
Of course, Team Whisper is a novel, and so there was no way he was part of it. I have addressed this issue in two of my novels, Team Whisper and Psychic Assassin. They're both revelatory of what has been happening to many kids around the world.
Most of us find it challenging to believe it's actually a possibility that it occurs. Not so much that we don't believe young children might get hijacked to secret schools. I think we pretty much all understand that's like sometimes part of the gifted and advanced like tests and classes. Like this isolates out those really, really smart kids or whatever, the ones that have skills or talents, and then they're like tracked through school or even selected in to go to a special school. I think we understand that can happen, and that governments or agencies or societies, probably secret societies, even like the Yale one with the lock and the key, or the skull and the cat, whatever that one is, right? They'll recruit their members from there and set them up so they're tight, a band of brothers who then watch out for each other through life, and then of course can be manipulated through that energy. But the sense that there's government accepts their psychic abilities and searches for those, and then has a special cool school for those, that one is like one little bit step too far in the believability realm. Team Whisper is a good stepping stone because it's a novel, right? It describes how.
And Psychic Assassin also.
Psychic Assassin describes it also, yes. But with this interview and this disclosure, this is a fellow who accidentally stepped into it, and his parents verified it, and he has paperwork showing his enlistment and recruitment that he had no recollection of and wouldn't have ever had a recollection of if it wasn't for an anomalous event.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if we talk about it further, but in his career path, he ended up becoming one of those high-ranking military members who would be taking advantage of the children from a special program, right?
Yeah.
And developing these special weapons that I guess that we don't normally associate with reality, like
energy weapons
of some kind, psychic weapons. Anyway, he became himself a victim.
Or a target
because he's
says, "Hey, this happened.
This has been happening to me," and now he suddenly became a target of his own creations. Quite a fascinating revelation.
Yeah. The interviewee didn't mention the military man's name, but did mention that there would be a memoir published by under his pen name.
If he makes it.
Because he's deadly sick.
Sick at this point, yes.
Having a physical or digital rendering of his story and the name, even though it was not his real name, I was able to scan for the military man and found him.
Interesting. And dare I say, what did you find?
Well, a couple of things became obvious. He did not appear to be in the same base I had been as a kid.
Right, which was?
Dulce,
okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't a Dulce boy.
No, he wasn't in those bases. It's under there. It's not even those bases, but under there. There's like organizations within organizations, and outer layers and inner layers, and all these things keep themselves separate from each other so that it can't be taken down.
They don't gather and group up, probably too.
So
separate it divided and conquered, I suppose. kept divided to some degree. Or they're just cells. What would you call it? Little cells. The cells don't know each other, so they can't bring each other down. That makes sense.
Oh, did I tell you that those novels are based on real-world events?
Oh, yes, you have.
However, even though he was not in the same base, it appears that he was indeed part of a similar organization and had very similar aims and goals, the goal being the weaponization of psychic abilities. His branch appeared to be more in the intelligence gathering side of things. Remote viewing, bilocation, expansion of awareness, and correct interpretation of data.
It's funny, in my sense, it's strange that they would choose children, but if you scratch at it a little bit, you find children are less inhibited by programs of life. So like we've heard in the past, the children being taught to read with their blindfolds on, and just give them a day or two, and they're like, not even a day or two, right? An hour or less, and they're right at it. So it does make some sense that children would be who they use to do this type of work. Again, also, one of the major problems with remote viewing and these type of things is the analytic overlays.
Yeah.
And those overlays are compounded with age, right?
Get stronger.
So they're probably brilliant remote viewers if properly trained.
Right.
A little bit like the mamas. Remember how the mamas would train their children to be perfect seers?
Yeah. No input.
No, yeah, they would have. How old do they pick them? Babies. Yeah. So from birth, they enter into a cave. A cave
Simulation.
Everything is white, no color whatsoever, and it's all dark. Right? Just maybe the dimmest light to be able to see or something.
I don't remember the exact details. But
there was a lot of details that made them basically
white and stuff.
From birth until a certain age, they were literally removed from all external stimulation and all stimulation, period. Yeah, pretty cool. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's pretty cool, but it's pretty effective, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know if the mamas are ruling the world. I guess it isn't for that.
Yeah.
The mamas, what were they for?
They were the leaders and the wisdom keepers of their tribe.
Keepers of their tribe, yeah. I guess they have the wisdom to know that they're outnumbered at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. One of the interesting parts of this whole thing was that he also left at 17.
Yes, that was
recruited later as an adult into the conventional military. It was also interesting that he and his relatives were mind wiped when his childhood participation was over.
So, listener, you'll say, mind wipe. Yeah, right. I mean, we know that there are drugs, date rape drugs, right, that can give you amnesia for a period of time. But if you have a life experience from the age 8 to 18, or even 12 to 18, how would you go about wiping that? It seems implausible, improbable, impossible even, but it's not. Remember the story you had? You had a good story that kind of illuminates how it functions. Remember that cave you went into when you were leaving Chile? Tell that story really quick. Encapsulate it, because it's like, how could you forget this, right?
Yes. So a couple of mechanics that I can tell you about right away is that even though a person could be there for, let's say, 5 years, from age 12 to 18, just before 18, they would not just go at 18 and delete everything. So the kids would have like 3 or 4 days in the base and then the rest back into their normal life. And between the base and the normal life, what happened in the base was wiped.
On a regular basis.
Yeah. Right. And then brought back when they're back in the base, and then deleted again when they leave, like that.
Yeah, I remember he had decided to verify his absences over that period of time by checking his attendance records at the school. And the attendance records hadn't been I guess, modified.
Mm-hmm.
And so they showed him being absent an absolutely impossible amount of time and to still continue through the grades. Like you miss 3/4 of the school year or half or more, you're not going to advance. But he still advanced grade to grade to grade to grade. He just wasn't at school very.
Right.
And I remember the school's like, this is odd. How could that be? So he kept finding physical proofs of what he was beginning to remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
But can you tell your story about the cave, how they forgot their own daughter?
Oh, yeah, that part. So when I was, I think, 6, my dad received a phone call. The phone rang. He went to the phone and picked it up, put it against his ear, and then hung up, got us all into the car. And I think I didn't have my shoes on, and he wouldn't let me take time to put my shoes on. I was a bit annoyed about that. And then drove us out to the Andes. We were in Valparaiso, Chile at the time. We took the road. I think that went, let's see, the coast is here. So it would have been going north. Into the Andes. There's a couple of ways to get to the Andes from there. And anyway, so we went up there and we were driving for hours, and then suddenly on the side of the mountain road, remember when we were in Colorado? We went
yes, with the very steep edges. It's like a gravel.
Yeah, that's the type of road I'm talking about.
Single wide truck with a few pullouts you can get each other by. Yeah. Mostly it's like one lane going up a mountain, like right up the cliff.
Yeah, exactly like that. And then there was this huge opening on the side of the mountain, like a big car park.
Okay.
So that was strange, right?
Yeah, that's a bit strange.
So we drove into the car park and it was full of other cars. And as we got out, I noticed there was a few of the people there who we knew. And a lot of them were government people. So there was a couple of senators and other people like that, right? So my parents were in the government. And there was one particular senator who we used to visit, as my mom and dad were friends with them, and they had children. And they had an older daughter. She must have been about, 14, 15, something like that. And then they had, I can't remember the others, but I think they had a son and another daughter, something like that. But anyways, we used to go to their house all the time. And I used to really like the teenager girl. It's like I would stare at her like continuously and follow her around the house. And it was like, she was so nice. She was super nice and look after the little kids. And I think the sister was about my age. So it was like I knew her really well. I knew her name, and she would let us go into her room to play there while the adults were having their cocktail parties or whatever it was. And she was very nice. Anyways, we all went in there, and then on the side of the mountain, these big doors opened up, which I hadn't seen before. So it's almost like the mountains opens up and there's something else inside, like a big warehouse type thing with lights and things. So we went in there, and there was lots of tables with collars and what I could understand now to be like keyboards, like you know how you use your iPad or phone or whatever, and you move your fingers around and there's icons and things that you can use and you know what everything does. It's like that, but in table format.
Oh, interesting.
I couldn't describe it before because we didn't have it.
We didn't have tabletop iPads.
Collars so you can put your hands on and do stuff with.
Okay, cool.
So I started walking around because I was very little for my age. Even though I was 6, I looked about 3. So nobody paid me much attention. One of the things that happened was that I saw that family. So I went over there because the girl was crying. And the older girl was crying, and I went over there, and they said they were saying, yeah, and we can do this and that. And she's like, one of the things that they were offering was to move them, and they offered that to my family too. My family would be moved to Paris, and they would be there because there would be something to do with the embassy. So they would be still Chilean, right? But they would be moved to Paris
to avoid
the whole horrific thing that happened in September 1973.
September 11th, by the way.
September 11th, 1973. Huge, energetic stabbing into the heart of the human collective. So, and they said no, because they couldn't abandon, just like my parents, can't abandon the people, and we have to stay here and take care of things and stuff like that. It's so naive. And the girl, she was crying because she said, I don't want to live through that. I just don't want to see that. I just don't want to do it. And so they said, well, what we can do is to have you be part of a different family somewhere else. I think it was France anyways. Don't know why France was so,
a spot.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the French government and the CIA both paid for the coup d'etat in Chile in 1973. Anyways, beside the fact, one of the things that she was saying was, they told her was, well, the mom and dad said, we can't, how would we do that? Just, you will never know you had an older daughter. She would never have existed in your life. And then they were crying and crying and says, but she would never remember that she was part of your family. She would be in the family she was born to, she would believe she was, and that family would have always had memories of her for her entire life. That was their daughter. And then she doesn't have to live through this, even though the rest of the family.
How many people all of a sudden think about, is this my real family?
I know, right?
Yeah. Yes. Anyway,
so what happened later, my parents were offered the same thing and they answered the same way. But there was this guy who was in charge of several families. He was the one going around telling people these options, and they were all wearing gray suits. The men and women that were there talking to us were wearing all gray suits, and they were white. They looked Germanic, almost. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the tall white aliens, the tall whites. I think.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those, the Nordics, I think.
Yeah, the Nordics. I'm pretty sure that that's what they mean when they say that.
Probably.
And this guy was nice, he was caring, and I could really tell that he meant everything. He wanted to minimize pain and suffering. So I started hanging out with him. I was following him around, and because I looked like I was 3 years old, he didn't care. Right? And then he'd sit on one of the tables, and I would climb on him and look at everything he was doing, and he would just hold me. You could tell he was a dad, right?
Yeah, okay.
You could tell he was a dad.
Like a child on me, no biggie.
No biggie.
I keep doing what I'm doing.
I continue with one hand, and he was laughing and all this and the other. And then after the conversation, one of the conversations, I can't remember which one, I asked him about it. What does this and that mean? And then he looked at me properly, because before he was just seeing this little toddler, right? And then he really looked, and I could feel that he was looking.
Yes.
And he's like, what are you?
What are you? A little girl, of course.
And then I just put my hands, I'm 6.
I'm older than I look.
No,
I don't, the energy of.
Yeah. Oh, right. I'm 6.
That's who I am.
I'm a girl. Because that's all I knew.
Yeah.
At the time I knew I was a girl, and I was 6, and that was it. And he was really interested, and then he took my hand, and then we went to different groups and he had conversation. He'd asked me some questions afterwards and whatnot. Afterwards, I figured out he was figuring out that I didn't forget. Right? I wouldn't forget the conversations.
I have a theory about that.
Yeah? Okay. What's the theory? Or do you want me to finish the story first?
Finish your story.
Okay. So, anyways, at the end of the day, or the hours, or whatever it was, he looks at me and he said, okay, so everybody's going to be asked to go back to their cars now and to go home. You must not look back. Whatever you do, don't say goodbye and don't look back, he said. Promise me that you understand. I said, I understand. I don't look back and I don't wave. Yes. It's going to be difficult, but just don't do it. Okay. So and suddenly something happened and everybody started walking out the building, right?
Out the cave.
Out of the cave, yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah. And we got to our car and we climbed into the car and we drove away. And I remember started talking about it in the car.
I remember as you were walking away.
Oh yeah, that's it. So as I was walking away, I was 6, so I turned around to wave, and his face got really serious, and he was like moving his face. No, like don't do it. And I remember his instructions and got up. And so I pretended to be looking at the mountain.
There you go.
Back in the front, and it was so hard not to wave bye-bye. So hard.
Yes.
But I did it. And we got out, right? And we drove home, and on the way home, I was trying to talk to them about it, and nobody would answer me. And that was bizarre because my brother and sister in the car, this was before childhood seats or even seat belts were put in cars. They would be fighting and screaming and shouting.
Jumping.
Oh my God, they were a nightmare. And they had been an absolute nightmare all the way up there. And they were quiet, sitting quietly, looking in front of them. And nobody would say anything. And I was trying to ask questions and whatnot, and nobody would answer me. And I thought, this is really strange. Anyway, forward like 20 years or even like less than that.
No, forward till you got home. You went to their house to visit them, remember?
Yeah. But for that bit, okay. For the family bit, forward a few years, every time that I would bring out the subject throughout my life with my family, their eyes would go glassy for a few seconds, or sometimes a minute or two, and then they would come back and randomly talk about something else.
Get redirected. Bizarre. Right.
Anyway, so back to this story. A few days later, I don't know how long, we went to visit that family with the senator. And I went in and I looked around. I couldn't find the girl, the teenager. So I asked him, where's blah, blah? And I can't remember her name. Let's say call her...
Blair. Blair.
Let's call her Blair. I couldn't find her. And so I went to the mom and I said, where's Blair? And she said, well, who's Blair? It's your daughter.
Your oldest.
Yeah, it's your daughter, your oldest daughter. Says, no, we don't have a Blair. It's like, we just have 2 kids. And I said, no, that's her room over there. And I ran over to the room, opened it, and it was a sewing room.
Oops.
A sewing and crafts room.
Oh, no.
I'm like, where's all her things? Where is she? And I freaked out and had such a fit because nobody admitted that this girl existed, that they had to take me home and apologize to the parents. She's just special. She has a very vivid imagination.
Yes. It is very traumatic that when your imaginary daughter has gone missing. I'm sure I could hear it now. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I kind of thought that some of these memory wipes have to do with altered states of awareness. When one thing is going on, it's in a different state of awareness than in another. So if you get like taken up to a UFO ship, you're in a different state of awareness than on the ground. And so the one and the other don't have each other in it. Mm-hmm. Like, remember over the weekend, one of our...
To Ilya? Do you remember what happened to him?
I remember he forgot 100% of everything that he knew.
Indeed. Yeah, in the class.
But the class
had forgot having made notes.
Yes.
And it was in his writing.
Right. So he's taking the class, listening to the music. This is the source code.
Right.
He's listening to the music, taking notes of the class. It's done. I don't know if he went to bed or what. He woke up the next day and he was like, who made these notes.
Yeah, because it's a different state of awareness. It's a
Completely different state of awareness. And so it's possible. When they put them in, got to the cave, everyone got to the cave and they're all normal until they get there and they bust them into a different state of awareness where they made these choices and decisions, and then back to normal awareness, maybe even larger earth awareness.
Yes, possibly.
Outside the containment awareness.
Yes.
It's different than inside the containment awareness. I think we're gone to something here.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed.
That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Very good.
So 20 years later, did you go find them? Because you'd said something about 20 years later.
No, even 20 years later. That was the thing about the family, isn't it? My family, even 20 years later.
Oh, even 20 years later, you can ask your sister or your brother about
my mom.
And their eyes would just glaze over.
Yeah.
And they would talk about something else.
Yeah. And even until even more than that, 30 years, 40 years later, the same thing. Their eyes glaze over and then they start talking about something else.
Remember, we encountered that with one of my relatives where her memory had been maybe wiped and a program set in place. So if you start scratching at the memory,
oh my God,
the redirect and the anger and whatever happens.
Yeah. She'd go really angry about something and storm away.
Yes.
Yeah.
An irrational thing.
Irrational things.
Why would that make you mad?
Mm-hmm.
And then
this napkin, what is it doing here? Whatever. It was
whatever.
Really bizarre.
What do you mean?
The reaction, yes.
Okay, let's not talk about that. Yeah, so there's a lot of techniques, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you finish your article?
Okay, so one of the interesting parts of this whole thing was that he also left at 17 and was recruited later as an adult into the conventional military. It was also interesting that he and his relatives were mind-wiped when his childhood participation was over.
Yep.
The reason he started having memories return was because he had a medical condition that affected his brain. When he checked with his mother, she confirmed that his father had taken him into the military at age 13. He also found documentation in his father's old things to support his returning memories.
It was a consequence of them seeing a UFO.
Yeah, he had seen a UFO, and that's why he was approached by this agency.
And then recruited.
Yeah. When I looked at it and how it had been tightly wrapped into the UFO disclosure program, it made me wonder about how this is all going to look like in 2026. For sure, this year, 2025, has had all the main points we looked at during our Looking Ahead call, including more mainstream revelations around UFOs, and clear links to fear, religion, and the larger Earth. In my books, Teen Whisperer and Psychic Assassin, I disclose the type of connections organizations that recruit children have with what we call ETs and their technology. And there's a reminder also here to make sure to sign up for our Wisdom Keeper Hour, our second hour at drivingtotherest.com, to access the Looking Ahead at 2026 call on the 31st of December 2025. And if you don't like subscriptions, we're going to have a ticket that you can buy for the day. So it's going to be fun.
Yep. And if you want to know what show I'm talking about and what podcast and where to find this interviewee's revelations, join the second hour and I'll spill the beans.
The pen name of this military guy.
Yes, the pen name. We don't want to get a copyright strike and all of that other stuff. So meet us in our private second hour and we'll talk about it until you're tired of listening.
It's a deal.
It's a deal. See you, honey. Love you.
Love you, darling.
Join us for the rest of this conversation at drivingtotherest.com.
And when you go to drivingtotherest.com and you join in the rest of the show, rest of the second hour, you also get to join in the after party. 9 o'clock on Fridays, we all get together, including you.